now, man, I'll tell you, it's the best time to buy a house. Why is it a great time to buy a house right now? Is because
if they think they have a problem, should they call the insurance company first or call the roofer first?
Call the roofer first.
And why?
I mean, listen, you can be real enthusiastic about selling your house, but getting it to the finish line is what the end game is, right? So how do you get it to the end game, right, if you're selling your house? Well, number one,
everybody's about the bottom line dollar, right?
Sure.
I see it every day when people are calling me, and the first thing out of their mouth, what's your rate? What's your rate? What's your rate? Well, what do you want my rate to be? I can get you 3.5. You know what I mean? I can get you whatever rate you want. Yeah. What do you want to pay for that rate?
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
But at the same thing, the reason that we're in our lines of work that we're all in, right? Dan, you're real estate, been in real estate for decades. Mm-hmm. Brian, you've been in insurance for a long time, 10 years. Mm-hmm. You write with almost 100 different carriers. You're with T-Rock, been doing this forever, and you guys have so many different options.
Yeah.
You've got so many different viable opportunities to make sure that these deals close. Not to mention the experience that your company has put together to where you know how to navigate these insurance companies. You know how to navigate the adjusters and fight for what is necessary, right? Mm-hmm. Because insurance companies, unfortunately, they try to get out of paying whatever they can, right? Your job is to make sure not only that the repairs that need to be done get done right, but the insurance companies pay for what they're supposed to pay for.
Absolutely. Get the house back to pre-storm condition.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So, to add to what you were saying, Dan, on the, it doesn't cost any more to use me, 30 years of experience. It doesn't cost any more to use you. It doesn't cost any more to use you or use you. But it'll certainly cost you more to not use us.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To use somebody that doesn't have the experience, that doesn't know the navigation, that doesn't know how to put these things together, as a team, as a first-class team with that white glove experience, it will definitely cost you more. And, there's some pitfalls along the way that people experience that can easily be avoided, and actually, Chad, you and I were talking on that fishing trip about one of the things that you just don't understand why agents don't do. Why don't you give that a little bit of that advice?
I don't understand why agents don't have us do a pre-listing inspection. It makes no sense to me. It costs you absolutely nothing. And if there is problems, we can address them. If there's not problems, when you get down to that option period and they flag the roof, you can go, no, I've got a report here from T-Rock Roofing, a professional roofing company, a known roofing company, 5-star Google reviews, and the roof is fine. And it just streamlines it. It makes the transaction go through. And what's nice about doing that the pre-inspection also is that if we do have to address something, it gives us more time to deal with the insurance company. We can supplement it. We can be thorough. The worst thing in the world is when we, here's a claim and finish it in a week. It's not doing justice for anybody.
Right.
Other than the insurance company.
Well, I think another part of that, though, Chad, that you had mentioned before is that you also know insurance companies, right? You know all of them, right? So if that house is for sale and then it gets flagged and certain insurance companies are going to come out there because they see that for sale sign, that's going to be an automatic denial in most cases.
Yeah, that's my experience.
Right, that's your experience. So to avoid that, why would you not, like you said, it doesn't cost you any more. Why would you not, as Dan would say, okay, you're going to hire an inspector anyway, right? You're going to inspect a home. Mm-hmm. Why not call your roofer out there and say, hey man, give me a 2 thumbs up on this, or let me know what I need to do before I put the sign in the yard.
You bet.
Absolutely. And then even on the home inspection, a lot of times they'll flag the roofer things that aren't real. I went out for a realtor for Keller Williams, and she had said that the roof got flagged, and they sent me the report, and I read it, and it said due to manufacturer specifications, these valleys were not installed correctly. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at the photo, and I'm starting to second guess myself if I've been installing roofs wrong for the last 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. Because it sounded legit. Mm-hmm. And I literally reached out to a buddy about it. I'm like, hey man, Have I lost my mind? And he looks at me and goes, no, they don't know what I'm talking about. I was like, all right, thank you. We're good.
And you run into that all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Yeah, and in insurance, I mean, the whole world of insurance has changed dramatically over the last 12 months, right? Now, I know you've got some stories that you can share of kind of the things that are happening or the pitfalls that are happening right now in real time. So you want to share some of those?
Yeah, I mean, main thing is, just not getting insurance, making it kind of a top priority at the beginning of a transaction. Because a lot of times these buyers will get into situations where they're out of the option period and we're getting close to closing, and some of them haven't got the insurance handled yet. And then we come to find out, okay, well, if the roof's bad or whatever, we got all these underwriting concerns, it just muddies up the process. And roofs are a really big thing right now with insurance. Huge.
Right.
It can make or break premiums, make or break deals, things like that. So getting involved early and getting an actual assessment of the roof, what it looks like, if it needs to be replaced, maybe that can be negotiated with the seller. That's going to help the sellers and the buyers going forward. It's going to make for a smoother transaction. But yeah, I mean, it's just a big, it's a big flip from where we were really, you said 12 months ago, and it's really been happening since about the end of 22.
Yeah.
Insurance companies are raising deductibles, obviously, and they're lessening how much they're going to cover roofs just based on the age alone. It
Right.
could be condition could be fine, never had a hailstorm, but just because it says it's 10 years old, the clock's ticking on replacement cost coverage.
Well, to that point, what I can tell you is that on the lending side, in lenders, if there's any verbiage in that policy at all, anything that says in 2035, this roof will now be prorated or it will be, ACV,
Actual cash, yeah.
whatever that verbiage is, lender denial. They will not coverage it, right? Or lend on it.
Right.
And the homeowner, the home buyer, doesn't know that. They don't understand that. They don't understand what's going on. So if they're waiting to the last minute, and Brian, if you and I are working together, we know this, right? So you're not going to put people with the providers that are going to put that type of verbiage on their policies because you already know it's going to get shut down.
Exactly.
And also to your point of people waiting till the last minute, we also know that, and I can assure you with Dan or myself, it's the very first thing we have them do because we know how important that is.
Yeah.
Very first thing we have them do is give you guys a call so
Yeah.
we can get that. And they don't have to make a decision, but they've got to initiate
the conversation.
that conversation.
And it helps the buyer. Obviously, we like Dan. We'll get a jump. Hey, I got a buyer that's looking at this house. We haven't put a contract on it yet. Let's run a claims report. Let's see what kind of claims history. There's been properties where, we've seen multiple water claims, fire claims. It's like, Dan, I don't know. This house has got a lot of claims. It's having just eligibility problems just on the surface of the prior owner's claims. And say, we may not want to buy this house, and they'll pivot to another one. Just that information alone, as early on, it helps the buyer be more informed and make a better decision.
Tell people what a clue is.
A clue is a claims report that every insurance company is going to run on the property you're buying, and so the clue report they use that for ratings, obviously, so it's going to pull up any claims history, major catastrophic claims history, even small claims within the last 5-year period. Okay, and that's usually what we can see. But if we can't see anything, within that 5-year period, then that's when we need to go to a seller's disclosure and really talk to the seller and see what happened. Has there been any claims? How was the roof? We use a lot of seller's disclosures to get roof ages sometimes if we don't know, if we can't find out from a claims report, but. That's going to tell us, the clue is going to tell us what's all happened at that house, at least within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that, there's a rule in insurance, if it comes from the sky, act of God, it's not going to hurt you as much because that's what, kind of what insurance is for, hailstorms, windstorms, things like that. But I will tell you, fire and water damage claims are the biggest. I see the biggest denials for eligibility in those claims and premium increases with fire and water claims. So.
Yeah.
It's good to have a good inspection, prior.
So, Chad, Should the homeowner just go ahead and call the insurance company and have an inspection done, or should they call the roofer first?
No, they want us to be out there.
No. I mean, if they think they have a problem, should they call the insurance company first, or call the roofer
Call
first?
the roofer first.
And why?
For a lot of reasons. One, to establish that there is in fact damage on there, or if you only had damage to your gutters, you probably don't want to file a claim, because that's, like he was just talking about, it's going to show up, and in those situations it will end up right under the deductible typically, the full deductible amount.
Right.
So you'll be out of pocket for that full repair.
And it'll be a zero paid claim.
That's exactly
You know,
Right,
like
which is
that-
still a claim.
And exactly, but that sparks a eyebrow raise to the insurance company. Excuse me. They'll be like, "Well, there's a claim here. What happened? There's nothing paid out," and then it goes into more underwriting and this and that. It's just
Well, the other side of that is another reason, which I would think would be the priority reason why they would call you first versus the insurance company, is the moment they call the insurance company, it is a claim filed. It is a filed claim, whether there's a payout or not. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
You make the call.
You
yeah.
have filed a claim.
Correct.
And by calling the roofer themselves, they'll let you know whether or not, they'll tell you need to call your insurance company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And even in that situation, if they're not a known roofing company and they don't have a brick and mortar, you might want to get a second opinion.
100%.
The guy that knocked on your door said you got damage, I'd get a established company that's been around for years to come out and do a second inspection to make sure and confirm there really is damage up there, because that does happen.
Yeah.
I get up on roofs where they told me it was smoked, and the customers said that they got pictures, and I got up there and I'm like, no, you don't need to file a claim. There's nothing wrong with your roof at all.
Right.
I
Right.
found 2 hits on your gutters. That's not justification for filing a claim.
I train all my clients to call me if you have any, whether it's an auto accident, home thing, whatever.
But there's a difference of them calling you. You're an agent.
Right.
You are not the carrier.
Exactly.
So for anybody who's listening to this or watching this,
Yeah.
don't call the carrier. If you do have an agent that you know and trust, then yes, you can call your agent, but do not call your carrier. But still, first and foremost, I would still call a reputable builder that you also know and trust, which I can recommend one, T-Rock right here. So, there's so many important things through the navigation of these things, right? And, Dan, what are some other things that you're seeing in the crazy market that we're in? Not necessarily insurance or roofing, but just seller advice that's killing deals or something like that.
Yeah, I think the whole spirit of our conversation is it would probably be the advice to a seller. In a market where it's not as busy as maybe it was 4 or 5 years ago, is that now it's so important to have a dream team. So what is a dream team, right? Maybe the guys in this room. I mean, listen, you can be real enthusiastic about selling your house, but getting it to the finish line is what the end game is, right? So how do you get it to the end game, right, if you're selling your house? Well, number one, you should probably do a roof inspection prior to hitting the market. Why? Because if you have a roof problem or you have a problem with insurance or those kind of things, you're going to know that ahead of time before we hit the market, so it's not a problem, right? So once we get it under contract, we already know that, already getting a new roof, we're good, we can get it to the finish line, right? A buyer that's coming to a house that we're going to sell, for example, do you have the right kind of mortgage company? Are they pre-approved? Have they done all the things they need to do, all the heavy lifting ahead of time? So if there's a spirit in our real estate market today, it's that do all the right things, dot all the I's and cross all the T's, right? Because the devil's in the details. And the detail guys are in this room with decades of experience, right? Can I get your house sold? You bet. I'm going to do everything I can to get your house to the finish line. Can you use other agents? Sure, there's a lot of great agents in the market, but in this market, would I use a rookie? I don't know. That'd be something I'd probably think about.
Right.
Having the right type of mortgage guy, the right roofing contractor, the right type of insurance guy. And it doesn't cost you 1 penny extra to use those people, not a penny, right? To have people that sell, hundreds of houses, that have the guys have been doing mortgage business for 30 years, guys that have been in the roofing business for 20 years, guys that have insurance, has 80 different providers, right? So I guess to wrap it up, the spirit of that is that go get a group of people that will help you achieve your goal. That's getting your house sold or getting your house bought, that are professional, that know how to dot the I's, know how to cross the T's, and will get you there, right? And because it's one of our most valuable assets, and this market's not what it was 4 years ago, right?
It's not.
Now, if you price it right and you market it correctly and you don't have these pitfalls, it's going to sell, and you're going to be able to buy a great house. But if you have these pitfalls, it's going to throw darts at you, right? If you have a bad roof before you hit the market, now we got a problem. If you get an if you get a mortgage guy that promises you the moon and he can't deliver, if you get an insurance company that all of a sudden, whoops, we can't do that. And so the spirit of that is, hey, get great people around you, focus on the details, and we're going to get you there, right? So I think that's the spirit of real estate today, and it's still moving. If it's priced right and marketed correctly, it's just not moving like it was 4 years ago, but it's so important to have the right people with you, right? So,
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of the important things. I mean, you can probably weigh in, Eddie, on the people that come to you that say, well, they promised me 4% interest. And you tell them, okay, well, I can probably get you 4% interest, but it costs you some money. And they may be just telling you something. Somebody went online and you found some rate, right?
Well, Dan, I mean, we've got a client right now that you just sent me over the contract on that called me and told me what somebody was giving him,
Yeah.
and I basically said, no, they're not. I'm looking at them right now. I'm looking right at their rates right
Sure.
now. No, they didn't.
Sure.
And they probably did verbally say it, but I knew they couldn't deliver that, right? And this person went on to go with this company only to call me back and say that, you know what, you were right, they can't. And not only can't they, but they're nowhere near what they said they could be. They're not even close to that. And, what I was able to get them versus what they were offered the second go around was night and day.
Yeah.
Was night and day.
Yeah.
And, so often people think, hey, Dan, you just want to sell a house. Brian, you just want to write my insurance. You just need to make some money. And why would I do a roof inspection prior? Because, of course, you're going to say my roof is damaged because you just want to do a new roof, right? You need the money for that. And I'm going to say whatever I need to say because I just want to do the mortgage and make money on that. That's the perception. Instead of the reality of like, Dan, you sell plenty of houses.
Yeah.
Do you want to sell another one? Yeah.
Sure.
Do you want to sell it the right way? Yeah. Do you need that house? No, you don't. Brian, I'm sure you write tons of insurance, right? Do you want every deal you can? Absolutely you do. Do you want to do the right thing and make sure that your clients are covered the right way, that's going to get through the insurance process with the lender the right way? Yes. Can you write them maybe with a lesser policy, a lesser amount, but then as soon as it goes to underwriting, the lender's not going to lend on it, right? Can you educate them about that? Look, I've got these two policies, but they're not going to approve you on this one.
Yeah.
Chad, how many times do you get up on a roof and say there's nothing wrong?
Plenty.
Plenty.
Yeah.
You're not jumping up there just to.
Especially in this situation when we have a house and I'm looking at it for a realtor. I mean, my job is just to try to make the transaction go through, but I've got to be honest and thorough. But most of the time it's exposed nail heads and things like that. Plenty of times there is hail, and that's why they do it in advance, because when there is, we get out there and we can address that and we can go through the proper process, and it gives us that time. Because if you do get that delayed, it can delay the closing.
Yeah.
And again, that's when I ask. I just don't understand why anybody would not have us come out there and do a pre-inspection report. I mean, it makes no sense.
Right. Something that happened on my way over here. Another agent that I'm working with just got an executed contract, and they've been waiting for a week and a half for the signatures. Right. Now, I know, Dan, you probably would you'd lose your mind on that, right? A week and a half just for the signatures. They've agreed to whatever. And another reason why all of this stuff is important that I don't think sellers really understand, that speed wins, and it wins for everybody. It's not just us that's going to get a paycheck or the seller that's going to sell their home quicker. Speed wins.
Yes.
Because if you negotiate that contract, you get your signatures, You get me to get you through the underwriting process in a day or two. We're able to clear to close in less than 14 days. If we're able to get that process done and we can close that home in 17 days versus 30 or 40 if they're going with a bank, or 60 or whatever, what is the difference between a 14 or 17 day closing and a 60 day closing? Well, it's a month and a half of a storm coming through. Of potentially devastating that roof or causing some other damage that's going to prevent that home from selling. Or if they don't have the money to do the repairs, going to have to discount their home so much of all of these things.
And that happens too. I mean,
It happens all the time. So how in the world that agents aren't relaying the importance of speed and the right team to navigate that in it's putting the cart before the horse, or putting the horse, before the cart. Right?
Yeah.
And it's vitally important. And I think that this particular conversation that we're having, I really hope people tune into this, because this information is so vital to making the process the goal of selling the home, and making that process seamless, painless, and the difference of, I don't know, maybe pulling your out, man.
Yeah. Well, Eddie, to your point is that, when I had an office and I had a bunch of agents, and I'd always tell them that time kills real estate deals, right? And also the devil's in the details, right? So I can't tell you how many contracts that Carrie and I will get. My wife and assistant. If you tell her I told her she was my assistant, I'll have to shoot you. But she's much smarter than me. She forgot a lot more.
Told everybody.
She forgot a lot more real estate than I've ever known. But she's fantastic. Was an appraiser for 19 years. But where am I going with that? Is that oftentimes we'll get those contracts in, and we'll have to change so much stuff, and people don't realize what they're committing to in a contract, i.e., the importance of the devil's in the details, right? So you want the right captain of the plane, right? And so, like I'm repeating myself, but it doesn't cost anybody any extra to use a group of people like us to be able to get them to the finish line. That's not going to miss things. That's going to get their transaction closed quicker. That's going to make sure that the contract is ironclad. That's going to make sure they have the best insurance. That's going to make sure their roof is solid before we put the house on the market. That's gonna, if we had an issue, let's say for a roof issue or something like that, Chad's company oftentimes, let's say they're a little short on money. Chad may be able to let you pay that at closing. Go ahead and do the roof so the transaction can close. The roof invoice can be paid at closing. So that's what a group of people that have been doing it for decades can do for you.
Right.
And so important, because it's the most valuable asset that somebody will have in their lifetime.
That's right.
And that's why we're having this kind of conversation, because we're trying to get the word out there that, hey, listen, guys, we're not selling skateboards, right? This is super important, and the devil's, like I said, the devil's in the details, and use the right people, and we'll get you there, right?
Well, I'm seeing this more and more and more and more, right, is everything that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. People get online and look for the online mortgage company. They'll get online and look for the online insurance. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the back end of what's happening in the industry, right? Mm-hmm. They want to save their deductible on the roofing, so they're looking for the guy that's got the pickup truck and the ladder, right, with a little door sticker or something, right? And everybody's trying to save money. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think that we've probably all have made the same mistake more than once in our life, is we go for price and it ends up costing us more. No matter what it is, you go for the lower priced item and it breaks the first time you use it, and then you go buy the new one, the one that you should have bought in the first place. So, but you had to buy that one, So we learned that. One of the biggest things that I see, and I addressed this today in a meeting with a group of agents, going with an online lender and how they review things versus how I review things, right? One of the biggest mistakes that's made on an application is when it asks you for income, people put their yearly income down there. And it doesn't ask for your yearly income. It asks for your monthly income, right? So I look at things, and let's just say that you're a teacher, right? And you make $65,000 a year or $60,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month. Yeah. But if I look at that and see you're a teacher and you've got $60,000 a month in there, there's a problem, right? Now, what do you think an online company that has these substandard people that are only being paid on applications being pushed through, generating things. They're going to tell you as a teacher, and you saw that house on Zillow that's $550,000, and they look at that $60,000 income and go, absolutely, you're good to go. We're going to generate you a letter right now. And now Dan goes out and shows them that this house for $500 and some thousand that they couldn't afford to save their life, because they never went through and said, wait a minute, you're a homeroom teacher. You make $60,000 a month? No, I make 60 grand a year. Oh, $5,000 a month. Okay, well, you actually qualify for $275,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That mistake happens all the time, and I get that phone call at the 19th hour at least twice a month saying, Eddie, the deal fell apart. They didn't call you. They thought they had a better rate. Can you save the deal?
Sure.
Yeah, you nailed it. Like, that's with insurance. I see it all the time. I'll get a hold. Somebody went direct online because it's easy. You can do it from your phone. And guess what? They don't know.
15 minutes will save you 15%.
Maybe not in this case, because the person who are they talking to behind online or chatting with, the person's representing that entity. They have no, interest in doing good by the consumer there, right?
Right.
And so I get these. Here's my home policy. It's got a 5% deductible and ACB roof, and they're still trying to save money, and that's a very hard conversation to have with people. But it's the thing. It's like you brought this up, Dan. Dream Team people. Everybody in this room is literally on the buyer or the seller's side. That's the key I try to relate when I'm talking to clients is look, I deal with all these companies. I'm not loyal to any one of them. My loyalty is to you. I'm on your side of the fence. We're going to go out and get the best deal for you. But I'm also going to make sure your policy is going to have everything to get your loan approved and give you good coverage and not have you pay an arm and a leg for a deductible. And that's just what I see all the time there. It's really kind of mind-boggling. And another thing is if you've got an online quote from insurance online, as soon as you do that, you're going to start getting inundated with calls, emails, because they're selling your data.
Selling your data. And I, for one, can speak what a lot of people don't really have the ability to do this, but I can speak for everybody at this table as to my own experience of where your integrity is, where your honor is, and the type of work you do. I know you, Dan. You're one of the best out there. Period. You know what I mean? I know how you represent your clients. I know how serious you take it. Brian, I know how quickly you get on that phone call with me the moment that a contract comes through. You're on it, right? Chad, you have done my roof, right? I have hired you to do my roof. I have personal experience at not only your efficiency, your quality, your speed, your integrity. I have firsthand experience at how you and your crews work and how painless as it can be for the homeowner. Because at the end of the day, I'm a homeowner, right? And I didn't use you as a buddy to get a deal. I used you because I believed in your work, and I was blown away with the ease and the comfort and what it removed from my chest. When it was all done, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
We're trying to make a difficult situation easy.
Right.
It's, a lot of people get overwhelmed when they hear insurance claim or new roof going on, or they had a terrible past experience. And, we as a team at T-Rock and myself, we've tried to break it down to the ridiculous. We know what to look for. We know what to expect. We can tell you the stages, the steps, and that way and there's complete transparency there, so there's no surprises. Now, it's construction, so there is surprises from time to time, but we can eliminate it most of the time.
Right. And I think the other thing that people don't realize is Dan, you do a lot of first-time home buyers, right? Mm-hmm. First-time home buyers have never made a claim on a roof or anything in their life. They don't know what to do, right? And they're going to take advice by maybe somebody who's bought a home and maybe had to make a claim. Yeah. How many claims are you working every month?
It's a lot.
Dozens.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Every single month, right? Yeah. How many claims have you had to, kind of navigate through for your clients and Dan, for you? We've been through that, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to utilize all of us for that advice and guidance. If you're a past client of ours, You need to lean on us for that direction and that advice. We're going to point you to the right people. We're going to navigate you properly. And why would you go to somebody or try to go through it naked by yourself when you don't know what you don't know? When all you need to do is pick up the phone of somebody that you knew, you trusted, you believed in to help you with this transaction.
Yeah.
To say, hey, I don't know what to do, but baseball size hail came through last night, and I think my roof might. Okay, stop! Don't call the insurance company. Call this guy.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
You know, our industry is a lot about, Eddie, is that sometimes, related to when you go on a trip, right? You go on a trip and you say, sit back and enjoy the ride, right? So when you get on a Southwest Airlines flight or an American Airlines flight, the one thing that me and you and a lot of people that go on that plane don't do is they don't go to the cockpit and say, hey, you got all the fuels all good? Everything's good on the fuel?
Right.
The wings all good? Everything's good?
What's your experience, Mr. Pilot?
Yeah, what's your experience? How long you been doing
Is
it?
it day one? Or?
You're going to rely on the fact that American Airlines has people that have been doing it for decades. You're going to rely on those kind of people. So we sit back and we enjoy the ride, right? And we, all of us in this room, unfortunately, have had to look for parachutes with other transactions.
Right.
What are the parachutes? Well, we get it at the last minute. I didn't like my agent, or I didn't like my mortgage guy, I didn't like my roofer, I didn't like my insurance guy, and we're having to go find parachutes right before the plane hits the ground, right? And we usually pull it off, and we usually will save the day, right? But wouldn't it be nice if you could get on the plane, sit back, enjoy the ride. We're going to sell your house for you. It's going to be seamless. And hey, if you're going to buy a house, you're going to get a great mortgage. You're going to get your roof looked at. We're going to have a great insurance company and a good realtor that's going to help you get to the finish line, just so you can really enjoy that process, right? And it shouldn't be a miserable process, but unfortunately, we get a lot of the people coming to us after the fact. It's a miserable process. You're fighting with insurance companies. Oh my gosh, that insurance rate wasn't right, or man, that mortgage rate wasn't what they promised me, or the realtor missed all these things in the contract. I didn't know I was giving them my firstborn child. Well, you gave it and put it in the contract. Right?
I didn't realize that I had to pay for the survey and title.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't they, I think the moral of the story is, hey, you know what, why don't we start out right and get a group of great people that'll get you to the finish line, sit back, enjoy the ride, and we'll see it closing. We'll pop the champagne bottles, and everybody's happy, right?
Yeah.
That's should be the spirit, right? And so
Should
you got
be.
the dream team, right?
Yeah.
So we can make it happen.
Yeah, we could go on for days.
So the crazy thing,
I could go on for days about the stuff that I'm dealing with right now with the people that are they listen. There's nothing wrong with a new agent, right?
Right.
You've got a daughter who's going to be one, and there's nothing wrong with that. You got to learn somewhere, right? But there's a lot of new agents that don't get the right training, right? To the point, we've got a contract right now that we went through last night, and it actually took us 2 days to get the contract back to them, signed by my seller, right? Long time. You should see this thing.
Oh, right.
I mean, Carrie, it looks like a third grader wrote it. I mean, everything's spelled wrong. I mean, names are in the wrong spots, not the right legal description. I mean, just a train wreck, right? And so me and Carrie, it drives us crazy because she goes through and the agent's blowing me up. Where's the contract? Where's the signed contract? I said, well, there's a few things we needed to change and you need to initial. 60 things that you need to initial. 60. Because there's so many forms. There's a temporary residential leaseback, third-party financing addendum, 1 to 4 family
HOA,
residential,
probably,
HOA docs, all that stuff, and just all over, which just looked like we just got out of pen. And so some agents that have been doing it a long time will just kick it back and say, you got to change all this shit. Well, Carrie's nicer than that, and Carrie will change it for them and send it to them and say, hey, you need to do this, right?
And yell profanities the whole time, but she's going to change it, right?
Yeah, and I tell you, one of the biggest things, Eddie, that people are missing now is in the contract. There's this paragraph in our contract when this whole commission thing's changed. There's a paragraph 12, and then you can also have what they call a broker to broker agreement. So if I agree with you, Chad, to sell your house, and you agree to pay a 6% commission in your listing agreement, right? Then when somebody sends me an offer, I'm going to tell them, hey, we've got a broker to broker agreement. Put it on a broker to broker form, not in Section 12, because you put it in Section 12 and you put it on the last page. My seller is committing to additional money.
Right.
So we're committing to an additional 3%. Now there's agents that miss that. And I promise you, there's going to be some commission ectomies because they're going to go to closing, and the title agent's going to look at it and say, oh yeah, there's an additional 3%. Must be giving it to closing costs or something, right? So those are some of the things that we see in these contracts that are like the one we just did today, and just, you know, bless my wife's heart. She just, she doesn't let me do it. She does it, but it's just very taxing, right? But
It
So
is.
something I've seen too is, you know, where the younger agent and the mortgage company, they're trying to force the payment. You know, they're just squeezing it in just to try to do it, and so that's when they'll write a crappy policy. And I've been to a house where they had a hail exclusion in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Which is freaking mind blowing.
You don't see that. You usually see it on the coast. Then you got to go and get the
Yeah.
Texas windstorm
Yeah.
insurance.
Yeah.
But
But yeah,
That's
hail
crazy.
exclusion. And
Wow,
I couldn't help
never
the lady.
seen that one yet.
I didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. This is a few years ago, but I had a buddy that he's also a insurance broker, but he, you know, one of the reasons him and I became friends and why I liked him is because there was a realtor, insurance guy, and a mortgage company, and they were trying to do that. And the problem with that too is trying to squeeze those payments in right there at the line. Is look what premiums are doing now. They double. How do you make that mortgage payment?
Yeah.
You can't anymore. You're gonna get your house foreclosed on.
Mm-hmm.
So he saw what they were doing, and he like set up a whole like ally of teams to kind of counter what they were doing. And I was like, man, I respect the hell out of that.
Oh, you
know,
bet.
let's be buddies.
You bet.
Yeah. You know, the unfortunate part is that most people out there are pushing the envelope on their own accord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
You know, and they want to push it. It's like, well, I want that house. You know, they worry about their wants and not their needs.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, marry the house. But right now, man, I'll tell you, it's the best time to buy a house. You know, why is it a great time to buy a house right now? Is because there's so much inventory out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much inventory, and if you cross the board, let's say from 500 to 300,000. When I show people property, and I show 10 houses, of the 10, 8 of them will have $30,000 price drops across the board
Yeah.
that have been on the market for 60 days, right? Great time to buy a house. Well, what's so important about that as a seller, which, you know, kind of talking out both sides of my mouth, but as a seller, you got to price it right out of the gates. Because if you don't price it right out of the gates, it's going to sit. And when it sits, it's a death spiral. It's a death spiral for somebody because it sits there, and then when it's been in there 60 days, right? And then somebody comes and cuts your legs out from under you.
I got one in Sanger right now that I roofed and get paid at closing, and it's been on the market over a year now.
Yikes.
You know,
Yikes.
over
Well,
a year. And,
Trust me, brother. I've got a house that I just sold, and I thought we were pricing it right in the sweet spot, but the market was trending down as we were doing it, and you know, I came off at about I came off at about 30 or 40 grand.
Yeah.
I'm still in a good spot,
Yeah.
right? And we thought we priced it right out of the gates, right? But it's got some traction quick. But then when it was sitting there, we had to get our price down to get aggressive to get it gone. But things are still moving. It's just man, get so important about pricing coming out of the gates on a seller. And why are buyers not buying right now, dude? I mean, you got 10 houses to choose from. And, you know, and like we talk about marry the house, date the rate, right? You know, Eddie can refinance you. Get the rate locked in now. It's still
Yeah.
great money. Mid sixes, high sixes. That's great, cheap money. It's just everybody's spoiled coming out of
Yeah.
4 years.
FHAs and fives, five and three quarters.
That's fantastic. You know, that's cheap money, man.
Yeah.
And then you could probably, once it drops, half a point or a point, you should refinance it, or you can't.
Point and a quarter, point and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then
half a
you-
point's not enough.
Then you refinance it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
You know.
That's worth it, right?
Depending on the situation, I mean, you might be able to, you know, if whatever may have happened and maybe a good time, maybe you can drop the PMI, you know, stuff like that. So on top of the savings.
Makes
So,
sense. Well, Chad, do you inspect a little smaller houses too? Just,
yeah, I do all of them.
I got it.
Doesn't matter. I'm not too good.
Yeah, well, good.
You know, when last year we were pretty busy, and I got to a point to where it was a little harder, but you know, I was just too busy. It wasn't that I was too good. I was just too busy.
I got a couple right now that I need to get with you on.
You need
Yeah,
anything
send me
from
the
us,
addresses.
Alex?
I'm still recording.
One's in
He's recording.
Oh.
Yeah.
one's in Peaster, and it's about 600,000, and it's on a couple acres, and then I got another one over in Crowley. It's an estate, and the estate, she doesn't know what she doesn't know, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's so important about an estate house. Well, an estate house that somebody dies,
Yeah.
and you're talking about needing a seller's disclosure notice.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know, right? So nobody recently has called heaven and asked Bob how old his roof is.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you may be able to see from a clues report, right?
Some maybe if it's 5 years, but a
Yeah.
lot of times when it's not 5 years, that's when I ask them for the seller's disclosure.
The Crowley house, depending on if they replace it or not, it'll be damaged.
Yeah. And
It's gotten smoked a couple times.
what's so important about that too, Chad, is that the estate thing is we're talking about is that I recently had one that was, well, he said, well, I'm pretty sure Dad did the roof 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And in the area that this was at, they got smoked a year ago,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it doesn't matter. And so the guy said, well, surely it's a 30-year shingle.
Oh,
It's
no.
only 2 years old. And so I had to explain to him, I said, listen, man, you could put a roof on today. In a month from now, you can have baseball-sized hail, and you still need a new roof, right?
Yeah.
So let's at least look at it to see if it's a problem, right? So
30 years means normal wear and tear.
Yeah, it's not
Not
North
Texas.
Te- not
Yeah.
North
Not
Texas.
baseball size hail.
No, I mean we even last year. This is a true story. I was closed out a claim on a Tuesday and tarped their skylights on Thursday. You know,
Wow.
it's. I mean, and that was a lot of them. You know, that
that's
storm in
rough.
24 wiped out everything we built for 9 months from 23, and wiped out everything we just rebuilt. So we had to do all of those again, plus all the new ones that hit.
Wow.
I mean, it was insane.
the house in Peaster I was telling you about, I'm digressing a little bit, but she owns a house outright. Those are a little bit scary because when they own them outright, they don't get too anxious about
Yeah.
calling adjusters and stuff like that. And then estates are so important to get the right people looking at them because, like I said, you can't call Bob and say, "Hey, Bob, when's the last time you had a flood?" Right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, if you'll shoot me those addresses, we'll get over there
I'll do it.
and take a look at them.
I'll do it.
Not a problem.
We're about no signs in yards yet. Well, there is one sign in the
Yeah,
Crowley
it's
yard.
fine. If there's damage, then we'll have to get it removed. But
Yeah.
Neither one of them are listed yet, but we're
Eddie, I had a
we're
question
getting
for
ready.
you.
They're coming soon.
I'm just curious, like you got y'all's formula when you're estimating insurance, just kind of initial, when you guys estimate, this is probably what your insurance is going to be. What kind of formula guideline do you use?
I used to use 0.5%,
Okay.
and that's not enough.
Right.
Now, depending on the sales price, I'm going to use 1%.
Okay.
About 1%. And then once I know what that 1% is, I may go just down a little bit or
Sure.
up a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely 1% now.
Yeah,
Which
good. I was just curious because I never, we never have any problems with whatever I send over. It's usually within what the estimates are. I try to keep it within 1%. 9 times out of 10 we can get it under that.
Well, what's funny is like with Tanner. I compared apples to apples on his thing, right? And I just used their numbers so he could look and see apple for apple.
Sure.
And then I had a conversation with him. I said, Tanner, they're using $125 a month for homeowners insurance. I said, I guarantee you, you're not going to be anywhere near that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get
Anywhere
it.
near that. I said, but I'm just showing you what this particular mortgage company that you've talked to
Mm-hmm.
is trying to do to manipulate the bottom line number, which he knows that this is all you're going to look at.
Yeah.
They charge $100 for settlement fee for the title company. I said, there's not a title company in Texas that doesn't charge less than $500.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one time you're getting $125 per month on homeowners insurance if it's new construction. That's
Yeah,
really the
yeah.
only things that haven't
Well,
changed. You can still go 0.5% on that.
I'm not the mortgage guy at new
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the moral story is, Eddie, is a lot of times is that, like you said earlier, is that you don't know what you don't know, and I think contracting companies, mortgage companies, insurance companies, real estate professionals, we are the type of people that we need to be bold enough to be bold. What I mean by that is we need to be able to help them understand what they don't know, right? So, I went on a mortgage calculator and it said my payment on this $500,000 house is going to be $2,000 a month. No, it's not. No, it's not. You're forgetting about taxes. You're forgetting about insurance.
PMI, what are your
PMI,
credit scores?
private-
Your PMI might be $400 a month. It might be $72 a month.
Correct.
What's your credit scores?
Correct. Correct. And then not my uncle. My uncle knows how to fix roofs, so my uncle can do it, right? And it's just ridiculous. So if you're bold enough to be bold enough, I guess, and then you can help them not wreck the plane, right? And getting out of the gates the right way like that. If we all do that together, then then transactions are seamless, right? and then you get lots of referrals, right? We all get lots of referrals. Why is that? Well, because we do it the right way, right?
Yeah.
And we get them to the finish line.
Well, and the other thing too is, how many times I've been out to houses and literally they had a roof a year ago and that roofer is no longer in business.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
a
another
year
thing.
ago.
Yeah.
These. I got asked one time if I storm chased, and I'm like, I live in North Texas. I wait.
No, they come to me.
Yeah.
But my point of that is, and it's crazy. Facebook, a storm hits, and all these guys I went to high school with are now roofers.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're not a roofer. What,
Yeah.
You were just selling AT&T phones. Like, what? How did that happen?
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
Just
Maurice
because
does real estate business all
because
day.
you have guys that can install a roof doesn't mean that they're doing it right.
It
and
does
if you
not
don't
mean
know,
that they are doing it right.
and if you don't know what
all.
you're doing as a roofer,
Yeah.
and you're not inspecting that, if you don't have guys, like my guys are all vetted. I've worked with these guys for years. I'll use these guys in my own home. I'll let these guys in my home.
Sure.
And I wouldn't let anybody work on somebody else's house that I wouldn't let be on my home.
Sure.
And do they get paid more? Absolutely. But the headaches and everything else and the quality,
But to your point, or to Dan's point, do you pay more? Yes.
Absolutely.
Does the homeowner pay more?
No.
No.
no, it's the
No.
same.
No.
No. That's exactly
It
right.
comes
I
out of
mean,
my profit.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, Remax has been around since Christ was a corporal, right? So
Right.
they sell more real estate in the world than anybody, and why not use the best for the same money, right? And there's a lot of people that sell real estate, nothing wrong with that, and there's a lot of real estate companies, right? And there's a lot of good ones, right? But I would choose to have one of the best in the industry represent one of my largest assets, right?
Right.
And so all of us in this room are those people that are at the top end of the industry, and we can help you get there. And it's just doesn't make any sense, 0 cents to me, to use somebody without that experience or this kind of group, and you're paying the same money. Doesn't make any sense.
And I don't know if you guys are like me, where I like to build relationships, and I continue to
Sure.
work with people for
Over and
years
over again.
and
Sure.
over and over again.
Well,
and,
that's what this is. Yeah,
that's exactly.
absolutely.
But that's exactly my point. And I'm going back to when I was saying that I go to a house and they're like, oh, we got a roof a year ago and they're out of business. Well, no, that's why it's important to deal with professionals, as we've been pointing out this whole time. You want to deal with somebody that if you have a problem or you need help again down the road, they are there and they answer their phone. And communication is key.
Yeah.
Right. Communication is key. And it's funny, like, somebody will say, well, I want to use a big company, right? Remax instead of whatever, or a Chase or Bank of America instead of the little mortgage guy, right? What they don't realize is that I'm aligned with the 600 and 800 pound gorillas across the country.
Yeah.
That my level of volume have put me at a status with them that I am in their top 1% of all brokers across the country, which gives me preferential treatment with the 800 pound gorilla.
Sure.
I am their priority.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not your one little deal. My millions and millions and millions of dollars of deals that are going to go there.
Sure.
They look at me as a priority, and the level of service that I get and priority treatment that I get is far beyond what they'll ever get at a Chase or Bank of America or a credit union or Rocket or anything else, simply because of the type of business that I do and the volume that I do, right?
bet.
And they don't realize, they think they're just using the local guy, and they're really not. They're accessing the 800 pound gorilla that they do not have access to.
Right.
And you can't get a hold of those people outside business hours either.
Right.
And that means a lot to me. And if I've got a problem or I need to talk to somebody, I want to talk to them. And I want to send a text and I want to get a response.
Right.
Sure.
No matter what.
And it could be a simple little question at 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night that you forgot about during the day, and you just I don't want to wait until tomorrow because tomorrow
if I'm up and
is going to be busy too.
If I'm up and my phone gets a text, I respond.
You bet.
It doesn't matter. And if I wake up at 2 a.m. and see that text, I will respond.
Well, you might want to stop that.
Yeah, customer service is key. And
That coaches people what they can get away with,
Yeah,
right?
you bet. You bet.
Yeah.
It's important.
So, well, I'll tell you, I want to thank you guys for joining me today. And literally, I believe that this is a dream team because I know the quality of everybody sitting here, and I can't speak highly enough about you guys. So I'm very grateful that you guys took the time to come and sit down and try to give some guidance for people that are going to watch this, because people don't know what they don't know, right?
Absolutely.
And, I would love for anybody watching this, please reach out to us. I'm Eddy Foster,
Chad Stuckey.
Brian McCoy.
Dan Murphy.
right? And, subscribe, click the button below, give us a call, give us an email, whatever, hit us up, Messenger, whatever you can, so we can, get back with you and maybe make your life a little easier.
Amen.
So,
Yeah.
Amen. Thanks
all
for
right,
having us.
thanks guys,
for having us.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yep.